It's State Senator Mallory McMorrow. Welcome back. It's been a little while. Welcome to This Week with Mallory. Welcome, everybody. This is State Senator Mallory McMorrow. Thank you for joining us for our live stream this week with Mallory. We are trying a couple of things that are new. So hopefully if you are on Instagram, you're able to see this. We are trying out to see if we can link to Instagram Live, but you might also be joining us from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. So wherever you're tuning in from, welcome. This is your opportunity to hear directly from me on what is happening in the state, what is happening here in Lansing at the state capitol, and share some good news from the district. This is also, as the name implies, live. So you have an opportunity to ask Q&A. The way that you can do that is no matter what platform you are tuned in on, if you go ahead and type a question in the comment section on that platform, we will be able to see it. Just make sure you include your full name. Let us know what city you live in so that we can prioritize getting to our constituents, and then go ahead and fire away with those questions and we will get to them at the end. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen and walk you through everything that has been going on. It is very exciting. So welcome, as I said, to our latest live stream. What has been going on? We are back in session. And to give you a sneak peek of what that looks like, Ebony on our digital team put this little video together, so take a look. So that is a look at what a typical day in Lansing looks like. We will post this video on our social channels so you can watch it slightly bigger than a teeny tiny version on the screen. And what does that mean? So we started back in session on January 10th, and what you may or may not know is that Michigan is one of 10 states around the country that is a full-time legislature. Now, that means that we are in session and doing committee work throughout the year. We are in Lansing on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We work in our districts on Mondays and Fridays, but that work continues all throughout the year. So that means that constituent services, helping with state departments, helping you troubleshoot issues, that work is available to you year round. Our team is incredible. And Michigan, like I said, is one of only 10 states that does have a full-time legislature. I have gotten to know legislators from all around the country. And there are some states like Texas, for example, their legislature only meets once every other year for a period of 30 or 90 days. They can be called back into session, but it's a very different reality. You get very different types of people who serve versus what we have here in Michigan, where we are able to focus on those issues year round. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pop my screen back open for you again, and we are going to talk about something very exciting, at least very exciting in my mind, the CREC. What is the CREC? The CREC is the Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. And this really kicks off the budget process for the year. So, twice a year in January and May, fiscal agencies and our nonpartisan fiscal staff get together with economists from the University of Michigan to come together and present their economic forecast for the state. Like I said, this happens twice a year, and this really serves as the framework for those of us in the legislature to start putting the state budget together. So this happened right around the same time that we got back into session, and the results were positive. So it has been a wild few years from a global pandemic that turned all of our lives upside down, the recovery from that pandemic, and there was so much worry about the fact that our state and the rest of the country was likely headed into a recession. But we have seen inflation come down, we have seen things start to stabilize, and the consensus across the board is that Michigan's economy is strong and stable. We are looking at a largely a return to pre-pandemic normal. So while we saw a huge influx of excess revenue last year, from COVID-19 relief federal dollars, from an increase in state revenue that we collected, we're largely seeing that kind of level out and get back to normal, which is a good thing. Knock on wood, we have largely avoided the worst that economists were predicting even just a few years ago. There is still a surplus as well. Although, like I mentioned, it is likely going to be less than legislators had to operate with last year, mostly on the conditions that we no longer have the federal COVID-19 relief dollars coming in from DC. But that's good news. You know, that means that the actions that we've taken, the budget that we created last year, is doing well by the economy, and we are in a good position to move into the budget cycle this year. Now, I am going to quote from one of the economists who presented the possible, quote, turd in the punch bowl. His phrase, I love it. I think it's a really accurate representation. In the coming years, who is a forecaster with the University of Michigan, is that there may be a softening labor market along with slowing job growth due to our stagnant population trends. You have heard me talk about this for many years. You've heard a lot of coverage about this. Michigan is an aging state. Our population has largely remained flat. However, last year was the first year that we saw population tick up in quite some time. So our population is starting to increase. That is a good thing, but we've got to keep that trend moving because that is something that could take what is widely good news and start to ramp it in the wrong direction if we are not careful. What's next? Last night was the State of the State. The State of the State address is much like the State of the Union that you may have seen on TV when the President of the United States delivers an address to members of Congress about the state of our union. The State of the State is no different. This is an annual speech that the governor gives to a joint committee of both the State House and the State Senate, where she lays out her vision for the year. She remarks on what our state has done and done well, and also lays out what is clear, which is her vision, her goals for the coming year. And I'll give you a little bit of a taste of what that looks like with this video that we've pulled from some news coverage. Check it out. All right, I got a note from staff that the volume doesn't work. Like I said, we're trying something new here. We will post these videos across our social channels so that you can check them out in case the audio is not working. I don't want to just be playing some visuals for you. But really, like I said, this was her presentation to the legislature. And I'll give you some of the highlights of what the governor laid out in her speech to us. Some of the ideas that Governor Whitmer proposed include investing $1.4 billion to build or rehab 10,000 new housing units statewide. This is really important. We have consistently heard, and one of the things that we know about our population issue that we're in right now is just a lack of housing. Much of our housing stock is old. A majority of the housing stock across the state was built before 1970. We know that this is a huge challenge, not only for young people who want to start a family, who want to settle down in Michigan to find an affordable place to live, but also for seniors. We have talked to seniors across our district who are struggling to find maybe a smaller place that they want to downsize, move out of a single family home into an apartment that is challenging to do. And that just means we need more stock. That is one of the biggest issues that we face right now. So, quoting the governor, as she said in her speech last night, Michigan's motto is build, baby, build. We need more stock out there. We need newer stock. We need to make sure that there is an affordable place for everybody to live, and that whether it's an apartment, a condo, a house, a home, that it is safe, that you can maintain it affordably, and that is something that we will look on how we can execute on that here in the legislature. She also proposed guaranteed education from pre-K through 2 years of community college for every Michigander. Last year, the governor proposed universal pre-K so that every 4-year-old could have access to pre-K here in Michigan. And in the legislature, we started executing on that. We made huge strides to expand the number of kids who are eligible for Great Start Readiness programs for pre-K. Tens of thousands of new kids are now eligible for pre-K in the state of Michigan. And when you think about what is going to set somebody up for success, it is that pre-K through grade 14, as my friend Senator Sarah Anthony has called it for years. This is really something that we need to do to ensure that everybody can succeed. We know that so many of the jobs that will set you up for a lifelong of success now require some sort of post-secondary education, whether it is a certificate, a community college degree, or a 4-year degree, in a way that they might not have for our parents' generation. She also proposed creating an innovation fund for startups and entrepreneurs. What we have heard loud and clear throughout my committee, the Senate Economic Development Committee, and also from many people throughout our state is that our state knows what we know well, which is manufacturing, particularly related to the auto industry. But we had Doug Song come before my committee early last year. Doug created Duo Security. He sold it to Google. It was Michigan's first unicorn startup, $1 billion valuation. And he said something that's really stuck with me, which is Michigan knows what we know. We know the Industrial Revolution. We know how to manufacture cars and work in the auto industry, but we struggle sometimes with figuring out what's next. Sometimes it is hard to imagine what the next great industry startup company idea is going to be. And that really does us a disservice because what we have to remember was that the American auto industry was really invented, designed, created here. We have the capacity, we have the talent with our great universities, with the number of engineers, designers, industrial designers. We have more patents that come out of the state of Michigan than just about any other state. We need to be doing more to diversify our economy and investing in those startups and ensuring that entrepreneurs feel like they have the ecosystem where they can start here and they can stay here, because that is something that happens way too often is we've got great startups that come out of Michigan, but then they end up leaving because they do not have the support that they need to grow from a startup into a mid-size into the next big company. She also proposed rebates on new car purchases, as well as some new economic development tools and bringing back some potentially old economic development tools. We will make sure to share in our email newsletter, if you go ahead and sign up for that, a summary of all of the ideas that the governor proposed. And what's key to point out is that because she discussed it in this speech, does not mean that it's necessarily a law yet. This is a really important distinction that we hear from a lot of people is you hear a great idea in the governor's speech, you reach out to our office and you say, how can I access that? This is just step one. This is her vision. It gives the legislature something to respond to as we enter into the budget cycle and throughout this year of policymaking. So what comes next in this process? In early February, the governor will come before a joint committee of House and Senate Appropriations. That is a committee that I serve on. And she will present her budget proposal, which is her proposal for the state budget for fiscal year 2025. And then that again gives the legislature something to respond to, and we get to work on our end. All right, moving forward, I'm going to pop my screen back up for you again so you can see some of these fantastic photos. News from the district. Last week, we honored the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King with a number of events throughout the district, and we want to share just a few of those with you. On January 16th, last Monday, MLK Day, I joined Royal Oak, Clawson, and Berkeley Public Schools for their 7th annual Day On, Not a Day Off, to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with service to their community. Alongside administrators, elected officials, parents, kids, and community members, we spent the morning at Royal Oak Middle School making blankets, sorting donated clothing, food, household items, and children's essentials, and assembling hygiene kits for people who need them. All of these efforts benefited community organizations striving to close equity and opportunity gaps throughout our community. And it was just a really, really wonderful morning on a brutally cold Monday to see these kids come back into school instead of staying at home, which is really heartwarming to see. Closing out the day on what would have been Dr. King's 95th birthday, I had the opportunity to speak at the 34th annual MLK Jr. Day of Celebration hosted by Royal Oak Township alongside Oak Park and Ferndale Public Schools. This year's theme was Living the Dream. It starts with me, spreading hope, courage, and unity. It was a really great event. It had amazing music, presentations, and a ton of inspirational speeches. In my remarks, I was reflecting on a lot of what is happening today through the lens of the past few years, because let's be honest, it has been a chaotic last few years. And on a day when too many people find it too easy to pull a quote from Dr. King and put it on social media while taking actions directly opposed to his dream, I admitted that throughout most of my life, and I think for many people, that there has been a built fear of saying or doing the wrong thing in the face of injustice or racism. And too often, because of that fear, we decide to do nothing. That is something that I am committed to working on. It is something that I have really, I've heard a lot of people loud and clear over the last few years who have reached out to me and asked me to use my voice and to be louder and to use this position to address and work to close those gaps when we see them. It really challenges us to turn the belief on our head that if you're anything like me, I grew up with the belief that bullies just want attention, and if you give it to them, they will keep going. But we can't ignore them either, because this idea that if you ignore them, they will go away, that is not true either. It's on all of us to heed the words and actions of Dr. King and to recognize that it is on all of us to stand up in our own lives against injustice when we see this. I think this is most powerful when we stand up to people in our own close circle, people like our friends, our family. If we see somebody saying something misogynistic or hurtful to a woman, even in jest, making sure that we stand up and say that's not okay. If we see somebody targeting somebody because of the color of their skin, it's really reaching out to the person who trusts us to say, hey, that's not okay. That is not what we stand for. It's not how we operate. Moving on to some slightly different news. Michigan, as a state, is a football powerhouse right now. So huge congratulations to the University of Michigan Wolverines for winning a national championship. I know that is a hard thing for my husband to probably hear me say as a proud Spartan, but we have to celebrate, and really, really exciting for all of the kids who worked so hard and deserved this. This is just the fourth time in NCAA history that a Division I football subdivision champion has gone 15-0. So congratulations to the Wolverines. And then, of course, the big news that we are all still so excited and bewildered about in the best way possible. The Lions, the Detroit Lions, are headed to the NFC Championship game this Sunday in San Francisco. Just really, I cannot believe we were watching this at home. And my husband, who is a lifelong Lions fan, like so many people, it was just really beautiful to see something I don't think he ever thought would happen. And when I talk to some of my friends around the country, many of them don't realize that the Lions have never been to a Super Bowl, and that this was something that is long overdue for Detroiters, for Lions fans. These are definitely not the same old Lions. And the fans at Ford Field took the phrase "restore the roar" quite literally. According to the Lions, the fans got so loud at both playoff games that the noise level topped 133.6 and 134.3 decibels, respectively, for the two games. That is the same as a 747 jet engine taking off. So if you went to the games, highly recommend wearing earplugs. I know my friend Adam Ollier wore earplugs the entire time. So look out for your hearing. But man, Lions fans, not disappointing. Then finally, we're going to jump into some good news from the 8th District, and then we will jump into our questions. First of all, this is super cool. We have a Royal Oaker in Antarctica. Former Royal Oak High School graduate Austin Carter is an earth science PhD candidate at UC San Diego Scripps Institute of Oceanography. He has been in Antarctica for 70 days, taking ice core samples to study the changing climate. This photo shows his love of his hometown, and he raised a Royal Oak flag in Antarctica. And some of his TikTok videos from his trip have garnered millions of views, so representing his hometown with pride. Austin's dad, retired police Lieutenant Albert Carter, said the flag was borrowed for the trip and that Austin is bringing it back to City Hall where it will be flown. How cool. Pun intended. All right, next up, huge congratulations to Oak Park School Superintendent Angel Abdulahad for being awarded their 2024 MLK Keeper of the Promise Award. He was honored for his impactful contributions to the district and his unwavering dedication to students and staff. So huge thanks for all that you do for our community and for Oak Park students. Finally, staying on the football theme, Lions backup QB David Blow made sure to stop into the Apple Fritter Donut Shop in Ferndale last Friday for some custom playoff donuts. They look super delicious. I love the incredibly gigantic, like box size Go Lions donut. They look amazing. Apple fritter is delicious. Stop by, get some donuts, and follow along with some of our Lions players. So with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to bring on Ebony, who I know is having some camera trouble, but she can hear, and she is going to be moderating the chat for questions. So just a reminder, this is time for open Q&A. You can go ahead and type a question or comment into the comments section, but just in case your name is not immediately obvious by your username, please go ahead and type in your first and last name and let us know what city you are representing, and then fire away with your question. So with that, Ebony, how we doing? And what questions do we have this week?
Happy Thursday, everyone. Right now, I'm in the chat. You're getting a lot of great back and forth when it comes to how great you're doing, how great Governor Whitmer's speech was. But so far, no questions.
So far, no questions. Well, great. I know this is the middle of the day. We are exploring and talking internally about how we can get these out so that more people can see them. So we might start doing these live during workdays, but re-airing them in the evenings or on the weekends. So feel free to share it, tune in if you have liked this or you think that it's valuable. Share it with your friends. Ebony, I'm going to go ahead and let you go close it out. Thanks for moderating and checking in. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everybody who tuned in from near and far. I do see some comments popping in, looks like from Twitter and YouTube. And yeah, so thanks, everybody, for tuning in. What do we have coming up next? Next week, I will be participating in Transit Riders United panel, their annual meeting in Detroit. We will share information about that. Something that is super important to me, especially for Metro Detroit, is public transit. We will dig into the Population Council report in coming weeks and some of the issues there. And with that, I hope everybody stays warm, stays safe. Get out your Honolulu blue. We are going to cheer for the Lions this weekend. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.